Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I am super excited. I was tagged by Fiber Spider, and for those of you that don't know, he's one of my favorite YouTubers, in a video to list top 10 books and top 10 movies. So he started off his video by saying that he was tagged, somebody else tagged him in a video, and he was like, you know what, I want to start my own. And he did, and it's the top 10 books and movies. And he said he kind of came up with that because anytime he's in a conversation or anything, like that, the conversation always goes to books and movies. And I totally agree. I love movies. I wish I had more time to read, and I enjoy reading. Even when I was a kid, I kind of enjoyed reading, but movies took my heart. So I have a few books that I'm going to show you guys or talk about that I put on my little list, but my list is mainly movies. And it's funny because it's such an odd selection. I was an odd kid, right? And there were certain movies that just, oh man, took my heart. And then there were others that, they're weird movies, but the reason I enjoyed them is because of who they came from and what happened. I'll explain all that in the video, but let's just get into it. So I have a little list right here, and then there's one of them on my list. Wait, do I have 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So the one movie that I do not have in my VHS collection, that is on this list would be Puppet Master. I loved Puppet Master. I don't know why. It was just, I watched that and I was like, this is the cutest thing. I loved the horror. I think the reason I liked it so much was because it was different. Whenever I was growing up, I was born in 85. So my mom, without, going into a big old long life story, my mom and my dad separated. My dad had custody of me and my twin. And when we would go to visit my mom, we did things with my mom that was our time. Well, one of those was video games, and that's why my love of Nintendo and Mario, and then it went on from there. Well, then another thing we did is Mom always made us watch horror movies. She loved watching scary movies with us. And we loved it. It didn't, we weren't scared. And to be 100% honest, I never had a nightmare from a scary movie until I was older. Until like in the last 5 years. And I'm almost 40. I was like, what is wrong with me? Anyway, so that kind of explains the reason for the odd horror movie love growing up. So she had us watch Chucky, Nightmare on Elm Street, Pumpkinhead, Candyman, Lawnmower, all of that stuff. I've seen it all. And my favorites were Puppet Master and the next one on my list, which I actually have VHS of this, Hellraiser. I don't know why, but I thought I liked him. I liked him a lot. I don't want to say attractive because that's not what it was. It was just, I liked him. I liked his story. I liked how, I don't remember in which one it was. Which one was it? It was the one where you get a glimpse of his life story before he, became the demon. And I don't remember. Anyway, but he was a fighter pilot. And he died in combat. It's been a while since I've seen it. Anyway, so the two horror I've got to add to this list are Hellraiser movies and Puppet Masters. I loved them. Definitely love them. But like I said, Mom had us watching all kind of horror movies, scary movies, whenever we were growing up. I'm trying to think of another one that really, really kind of stuck with me, but I loved Puppet Master and I loved Hellraiser. But anyway, moving on. So the next ones on my list, and these aren't in any particular order. These are just ones that were very, very influential on my growing up, my childhood. In the horror movies, that was why. Well, this next one, I think a lot of women can say why they liked this one. I had my own room for the first time. My dad and my stepmom bought me a movie with I think a DVD player, a TV with a DVD player. I don't have the DVD of this, but one of those movies that I watched over and over and over again because, let me tell you, that was Young Guns. Oh my gosh. I was in love with Emilio Estevez in this movie. I was like, he is the best thing since sliced bread. And oh man. Young, hormonal, yeah, this was it for me. I loved Young Guns, and I loved Young Guns 2. I loved all of them, but this one was my favorite. I would watch this movie and just get lost watching Emilio Estevez. Anyway, Young Guns, definitely loved it. And the reason being was because he's just sexy in that movie, and I was young. I can't really go much past that one. But another one I really, really liked. Now, this was my first, this movie that I'm getting ready to show you was my first, the first movie I watched where I got a unfiltered look into war. And I remember just like being like, oh my gosh, like that's okay. But that was Stanley, I about said Kubrick, Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket. I watched this and I couldn't pull myself away from it because I was learning. And I was learning, about the war, about how men were in the war, whether that be, men that were there fighting because they were drafted, men that were there fighting because that's what what they wanted to do. Anyway, yeah. This was my first look into Vietnam. And that I was hooked. I loved it. Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange, that movie, I liked it too, just because it was so different. And I know I say that a lot. I say because it was different, because I'm not good with words and I'm not good with explaining, what I'm trying to say. But to get back to it, I love Stanley Kubrick. And Full Metal Jacket, I love that movie. I could watch that over and over and over again. Okay, so now we're gonna get into now we're gonna get into a list. Actually, you know what? Hold on just a second. I forgot another horror movie that really stuck with me through my childhood was Pet Sematary. Love the original Pet Sematary. Holy cow. Well, for those of you that know, I have a cat that looks exactly like Church. Is he on there? Yeah. That looks exactly like Church from the original, and that's what I named him from, is the original Pet Sematary. Oh, that little boy. I will never forget that kid's face I think it's at the very end after the dad injects him in the neck to, sorry if I'm giving spoilers away, to end it, I'll say. And the little boy is walking backwards and he's like, no fear. And then he sits down and just kind of slumps down, and I was like, what is this? This is crazy. Or the scene where, and again, some of you may not, spoiler, like, this may be a little shocking to some of you. There's a scene in that movie where he gets hit by, I think it's a grain truck or a semi hauling grain, or was it a tanker? Man, I don't remember. But he got hit by a semi and he did not make it. So the dad takes his son and buries him to in the pet cemetery so he will come back to life because he wants his son back. Well, unfortunately, he does not come back the way he was before the accident. And he's walking. The dad's a doctor, right? The dad's a doctor, I think, or a vet. A vet. Dang it! I can't remember. Anyhow, the little boy at the end is walking around with a spatula, and he's like, "I want to play with you, Daddy. I want to play with you." And I know I'm laughing. But anyway, I recently, not recently, a couple years ago, a newer version of that came out, and I told my girls, they were like, I want to watch it, and I said, oh no, you cannot watch that until you watch the original, because I guarantee you that original is way better than that remake. You have got to watch the original. And they watched it. We all sat down and watched it together, and it's like, how long is that? I think it's like, do they not put that on movies anymore? The minutes? I don't see it anywhere, but I think it's like, 103 minutes. Yeah. So it's not far off from 2 hours, but it's a longer movie. Anyway, we watched it, and our oldest, she looked at me and she was like, I did not like the sister. Rachel's sister. I can't remember. Anyway, she's like, I did not like that. She goes, the rest of the movie, that it was kind of shocking. I wasn't scared, but she said, I did not like the sister. And I was like, right? It's creepy, ain't it? And then the youngest one, she was like, of course, she was the one walking around the house going, no fear. No fear. I just want to play with you, Daddy. I'm like, Jalen, quit, you little freak. You're creeping me out. Anyway, they absolutely loved it. Anyway, so loved Pet Sematary. All right, so now moving on. The next 4 movies, I'm going to tell a little story. These 4 movies, and I think I've talked about this before on my channel. They were influential in my life because I was young. I loved the story. I loved the way the story is. And then the second reason is because the person that introduced these to me was my first experience of a tragic death in my life, I guess. The story is that, like I said earlier, my mom and my dad separated when me and my twin sister were younger, and whenever we would go visit my mom, we would, do things together. Anyway, Mom took us to this guy's house that she was friends with. His name was Mike. And Mom and him wanted to hang out and do their own thing, whatever it was. I don't want to know. I don't care. But he was so nice. He was so tall. He was super tall, super thin. I'm picturing him in my head because this happened when I was 10, 11, 12, 13. Somewhere in that age frame. And I'm going to be 40 this year. And so the last time I seen him was a long time ago, and I'm picturing him in my head, and I remember him being super tall, skinny, lanky. He had a long beard. He had glasses. Those brown, like, I think they were darker brown at the top, and they kind of went to like a lighter brown at the bottom. Metal frames, and he had long hair. He wore it in a ponytail pulled back, and he either wore a bandana or a hat. I think he wore a hat. Anyway, So what he would do, he had a collection of movies. Like I think he lived in a double wide trailer or a trailer, and the whole living room and like dining room, he had the walls like just covered in VHS tapes. And so my sister and I, we were like, wow, can we watch the movies? And he was like, you need to watch this one and this one and this one and this one. And these are the movies he picked out for us to watch. And we watched them. And I'll never forget these movies because how much I love them, how nice he was. And then maybe a year after this, he was working at a truck wash or what are those places called where semi drivers go and they get their truck serviced and washed and fueled up and ready to go? Not a truck stop, but like is a truck wash? I don't remember. Anyway, he was working there, and God, something about he was standing between the bed of a semi. So like the semi was setting like this. Here's the cab and the motor, like where this truck driver is. Here's the semi trailer, and then here's another semi trailer right up against each other. And one of the semi drivers made too sharp of a turn, and when he did, sorry, this is gonna sound rough, rolled Mike along this truck bed and killed him. Anyway, so once I found out that happened, that destroyed us, me and my sister, because we loved that guy. He was so nice to us, and he let us watch all of his movies, and he was mom's friend, and or whatever he was. I don't know. Anyway, let me just get into the movies. So one of the movies that he let us watch out of his collection was Tank Girl with Lori Petty. Oh my gosh. I watched this, and there's some big hitting actors in it. I don't know if you can see that right there. That's Ice-T in like this, right? Is it Ice-T? Yeah, Ice-T. And it's got Naomi Watts in it, Lori Petty, and then Malcolm McDowell. Yeah, anyway, oh man, I watched this and I thought it was the coolest thing. I wanted to be her. She had a tank. She was coming to save her. Was it her niece? I think it was her niece. That was kidnapped by essentially sex traffickers. And she was like, I'm gonna go save her. And she just comes in, tank blazing. And I'm like, I want to be her. I loved her. Love this movie. Stupid, yes. Loved it. Okay, so the next one that he had us watch, The Labyrinth. Oh, yeah. Jim Henson. That is Jennifer, is it Jennifer? Oh, for Pete's sake. David Bowie cast. Is it Jennifer Connelly? I can't find it on here. All I see is they're talking about David Bowie. Sarah, King of the Goblins, Jim Henson, George Lucas, David Bowie, Jennifer Connelly. Yeah, I found it. Okay, so I loved this movie. This was one of my first experiences with any Jim Henson movie outside of the Muppets. And this is another one that just had me just glued to the TV because I thought she was stunningly gorgeous, beautiful. And I love the way the story was told. The creatures in the movie, they weren't scary. They were kind of like, that's cool, but you fell in love with them. They were so cute and they bounced around and they sang. It really reminded me of Fraggle Rock. What were those creatures called in Fraggle Rock? I don't know. Anyway, Yes, so this was very, very influential. There's a scene, and I can sing the song perfectly. There's a scene in this movie where David Bowie is singing to his goblins because he's the Goblin King. He kidnapped her brother. I don't remember why. Anyway, there's a scene where he's singing to the goblins, and it starts off, "You remind me of the babe." What babe? The babe with the power. And I can sing that. I don't want to sing it because I'll get a copyright infringement, but I can sing that whole song. And I have it on, I have that song on, was it Apple Music I have it? I don't know. I was like, you guys have got to listen to this song. And I started singing it to my girls and my husband, and they're like, I'm like, you've got to see this movie. It's amazing. Okay. So my next one. This is George Lucas and Ron Howard. This was I remember watching this with Mike, and my mom let us borrow it, and we watched it with my mom, and my mom would always walk around the house and she'd be calling this guy. But anyway, I'll explain that more. So the next one is Willow. This is Val Kilmer, Warwick Davis. So he's the little one. I can't. Oh, what do they want to be called? I'm sorry. I'm gonna be rude, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to offend anybody. Anyway, oh, I loved this movie. It was so adorable. So what he's doing is he's trying to save his village and the prince. It's been so long since I've seen it. Actually, I don't really remember, but it's George Lucas and Ron Howard, and Val Kilmer in this is really good. I didn't really have a crush or anything on Val Kilmer. I just loved the story of this, and I thought it was so cute with the baby. But anyway, there's a scene where is it a goat? A goat is dying or something, and it's actually a witch, and the witch is going, Willow, Willow. And my mom used to yell that through the house, Willow. But anyway, Willow, I loved that movie. That was another one that Mike had us watch. And the last one out of my Mike list that he had us watch was Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal. Oh, I loved this one too. I loved this one because I thought the main character, I can't remember his name, but it's this little guy right here. He's actually a Muppet, and the entire show is around him saving her, and it was amazing. And then I was a child, and to learn that some of the creatures in this movie were played by people in these huge costumes. I don't know if you can see that right there. And it was just like, wow, somebody is in a machine, essentially, and they're acting with this. Oh, man, I thought that was so cool. And the story in this just, it broke my heart, and then it brought your heart back together, and definitely recommend watching The Dark Crystal. Adorable. And then I think my last one. Oh, that's sad. I think this is my last one. This is a movie I watched when I was in high school. There's like a time period, and I don't remember the exact years that the time period is, but there's a handful of movies that came out. It was this one, Armageddon, Pearl Harbor. I think that was it. I think. Yeah. And this one was my all-time favorite because this was another one that gave me a look into a war, and this one was who is this? Steven Spielberg, duh. This, I'm just going to show you. This is Saving Private Ryan. I watched this and I cried, I laughed, I fell in love, I hated, I mean, just, wow. I watched this and I was educated. I went through all of the emotions. I seen, you know, amazing graphics. I don't even think they're graphics. I think they were actually stunts, or, you know, the way, what I'm trying to say is the way that they showed you know, the explosions, the arm being blown off. It was so realistic looking, and it just was like, oh my gosh, you know. And then the story of them finding Private Ryan because he's the only one left out of all the brothers, so he has to go, and he won't go, and the rest of the soldiers are like, sir, we just lost these soldiers and, you know, risk our lives to get you out of here, and now you're saying you won't go. And oh my gosh, it was, oh, I loved this movie. Loved this movie. Actually kind of want to put it in and watch it. If I had more time, sit down and crochet and watch this, or at least make my girls watch it. I loved this. Loved Saving Private Ryan. So that is my book list. Although I do want to say I have some honorable mentions. And I pulled these out of my list, but I'm just going to run through them real fast. Fried Green Tomatoes. Loved it. Another one that was actually a Mike movie that we watched. The Color Purple. Oh my gosh. Steel Magnolias. Tombstone. I loved Tombstone. So this one's actually not a movie. This was a mini series, and I will forever, ever love this, and I will watch this repeatedly once a year, probably. I don't know. Lonesome Dove. Hands down. I loved Lonesome Dove. Oh, that was such a great show. Let's see what else I can see. Oh, Storm of the Century. Stephen King's Storm of the Century. Love that. Howard the Duck. My mom made us watch that one. And I was like, what is this? This crazy duck. Let's see. Oh, something else. The Awakening. I should have put that on this list. The Awakening with Robert De Niro. Oh man, I loved that movie. Let's see. Shawshank Redemption. Love that. Favorite. So that's another story. My husband and I, Natural Born Killers, loved that one. My husband and I, when we first got together, I'm going off on a tangent. We had an argument and he won. I will straight up say he won, and I take it back. But growing up, my all-time favorite, out of all movies, my all-time favorite prison movie, Shawshank Redemption. I loved Shawshank Redemption. And him and I got together, and I told him, I was like, my all-time favorite, even over The Green Mile, because I love The Green Mile, my favorite prison movie was Shawshank Redemption. And he goes, nope. You are not, nope, you cannot say that. You have not seen Cool Hand Luke. I watched that and I was like, you are right. I was wrong. I loved Cool Hand Luke. Man, my husband's going to be so mad I didn't put that one on my list. Cool Hand Luke, yes. I love it where he's like, I can eat 100 eggs. Are you kidding me? He's like, I'm trying to eat all of these eggs. Loved Cool Hand Luke. Oh yeah, my husband made me watch Natural Born Killers. I loved Natural Born Killers. Loved it. Let's see, what else can I... this one is... I know I'm still going, but like I said, they're honorable mentions. I can't talk all of a sudden. Blah. They're honorable mentions. So when I was growing up, I fell in love with Chris Farley. I loved any Chris Farley movie. I would roll on the floor laughing because he would kill me. I loved Chris Farley. And then when he died, I was just like... So I have all of his movies on VHS too, because to me, as a child, there will never be a comedian like... Not comedian, but I mean, an actor that made me laugh like Chris Farley did. Let's see. I mean, besides, you know, the normal ones, I think I've pretty much, like, those were some good ones that... Okay. I'm going to say that's my movie list. That's my movie list with my little added extra honorable mentions. So, okay, so let's go on to books after almost 31 minutes. Like I said, I don't have a big list of books. I love to read true crime. And Anne Rule is my all-time favorite true crime writer. She got in there and she talked to these serial killers that were just, oh, I can remember. I don't have the book. I loaned it out to my sister, but she wrote a book about a serial killer that had a shoe and foot fetish. And in the book, it talks about how this, not in her interview, in the interview the serial killer had with the police were trying to get this guy, anything, just tell us where she is. Tell us where she is, what happened to her. And he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. Well, finally, one of the cops said, all right, fine. If I bring in a high heel shoe, will you tell me where she is? And the cop brought in a high heel shoe. The serial killer woohooed the high heel shoe in front of the detective and told the detective where she was. And I read that and I was like, what? Oh my God. Yeah, so anything by Anne Rule, I'm game. I started one recently that, man, I haven't had time to finish it, but I can't remember the name of that book, but the front of it, it's a blue book, like a smaller book. It's blue and it's got a red high heel on the front of it, and it's by Anne Rule. If you find that. Okay, so anything by Anne Rule, Mary Higgins Clark, I loved her. I didn't read a lot of hers before I found Anne Rule, but I did read a few, and one of the ones that I loved was Where Are the Children? And I think that's probably like her most famous one. I don't know. But anyway, or Daddy's Gone A-Hunting. That one. I liked that one too. Love Mary Higgins Clark. But this is one I want to show you guys that I don't think there are enough people that talk about this book series, and I want to explain why. So this is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Blah, 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 blah. It's a mouthful. This is by Ransom Riggs. There's 3 books, I believe. There were supposed to be more, but I don't think he ever wrote them, and I don't know why, but these books I thought were beautifully done. The storytelling, the picture that you get in your mind. And I think these are made for teens. I think. But there's a reason why. I'll tell you that in a minute. But there's a reason why I loved these. Not only was it because of the story, all of these characters, so the way he writes makes you picture to a T what the characters he wants you to see. There are a couple of characters like Miss Peregrine. There's a kid, I can't remember his name. Anyway, and the way he writes, you have got the picture of that person, and it's amazing. It just, the way he writes. Anyway, so not only the story, the characters, the way he writes, but this whole series is based off pictures that he found at an antique store. So what he would do is he traveled and he went to these antique stores and found these old pictures. And I love going to antique stores, and I know exactly what he's talking about, because the number of times that we have seen, they're almost like, what is a blah, 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 blah. In a library, when you wanted to find a book, you pulled out this drawer, and then you found the book, you like went through the alphabet, found the book you wanted, and it kind of gave you an idea of where on the bookshelf the book would be. What was that called? It's not a Rolodex, right? I don't know. Anyway, the reason I say that is because when we go to antique stores, they have, a lot of times they'll have like drawers like those, and it's just full of old pictures, like old family pictures, black and white pictures. Just some of them are kind of like, what? But anyway, that's how he wrote the characters in this story, in these stories, is because when he traveled around, he went through all those pictures and just found like really weird pictures, and he just created the character from these weird pictures. There is, okay, so like this. It's like, this is a picture he found, and he created a character from that picture that's like crazy super strong, because it looks like he's holding a boulder, right? So there's a character in the book that is incredibly strong because he found that picture. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, and I love the story. I would recommend reading those if you have a chance. If you like mythical things. Anyway, I'm going to get off here. Holy cow. I feel like I've rambled and rambled and rambled, but I was so excited. Oh, I got a tag. So, I'm going to tag one YouTuber that I have really grown fond of, and I have really admire, and I love her. So, and that's Terry from the Yard of Joy podcast. I want to hear Terry's list of books and movies. I don't know if Terry reads. I know she watches movies. I don't know if I've ever heard her talk about books before, but I've heard she always talks about movies whenever, like the Christmas season, when she watches the movies for her Christmas. I can't remember what it's called now. I don't know. Anyway, but I'm going to tag Terry from the Yard Joy podcast. I definitely want to hear your movie list. Like I said, I admire her. I love her. I love you, Terry. I just, anytime you post a video, what I'll do is I'll not watch them. Pardon me. I'll not watch them for a while and let them build up and then just binge them. But anyway, all right. So I'm tagging Terry. Thank you, Fiber, for tagging me. I really appreciate it. And yeah. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.